animal metaphors describing Ireland's place in the European Union over the last 10 years have placed it somewhere between Celtic tiger and lame duck. Now that the Irish are in charge of the rotating presidency, has their euro-enthusiasm changed from a roar to a quack? Live from Dublin, we have the Deputy Prime Minister, Eamon Gilmore, to answer your questions. Fáilte, thank you very much for being with us, Deputy Prime Minister. I talk quick questions, quick answers. Let's go for the first question here from Brussels.
My name is Soukaina and I'm Belgian. I'd like to know, after getting help from Europe, what do Irish people think about the European Union?
So are people still as euro-enthusiastic in Ireland or not these days?
Well, it's 40 years since Ireland first joined what was then the European Economic Community. And it's been a very positive experience for Ireland. The European Union has contributed enormously to the economic growth of the country. It contributed to the modernisation of our laws. It contributed to the bringing in of a lot of social laws, like, for example, equal pay and equality legislation. A lot of our environmental legislation had its origins in Europe. So it's been a very positive experience.
OK, let's go to a second written question for the Deputy Prime Minister. Hello, good morning. I'm from Spain. I'm Maria, and I would like to know which plans Ireland has to solve the flag crisis in Northern Ireland and how you expect to manage the rise of nationalisms in Europe. So, Maria, I would like to know what you think about nationalism. You must be a bit concerned by recent events in Belfast.
Yes, indeed we are. And I think what it shows is the need for constant vigilance to work on our peace process. We had a conflict in Northern Ireland which lasted for about 30 years. It was a very violent conflict. 3,500 people lost their lives. A big number of people to have been killed and many, many more injured. And over time, we worked on a peace process, the Irish government and the British government together with the political parties in Northern Ireland, which brought about a settlement and the establishment of a shared administration in Northern Ireland. We have, however, seen in recent weeks some disturbances which are worrying. I hope that they will not last. But I think it shows the challenges that we have to build a shared future for people in Northern Ireland. I think it also shows the degree to which national identity and other identities are very strong throughout Europe. While the European Union has been successful in building a union of 500 million people, within that union are many peoples and many groups of people who have a very strong national or regional identity. And I think it's important that we, first of all, respect those identities, but that there is mutual respect all round and that we work together as a people in Europe to build a better future for all our citizens.
OK, let's have another question now for Dublin.
Good morning, my name is Chantal, I'm Belgian. I'd like to ask a question. What does the Irish presidency plan to do to counterbalance Germany's power in the European Union?
Do you intend to do anything to curtail German power, or is that killing the goose which lays all the eggs?
Well, I think it's important that we all recognise that the European Union is made up not of any one state or indeed a small number of large states. The European Union is made up of 27 member states, and when Croatia becomes a member, that will be 28 member states. I think it's important that we do our work in Europe using the community method, that there is a strong sense of all of the member states working together, of there being mutual respect between smaller states and large states.
But the economic power does give Germany a preponderance, doesn't it? It does make the whole situation a little unbalanced.
Well, I think in order to appreciate economic power, I think we have to understand how interdependent we all are on each other. I think that is the whole rationale for the European Union, that no individual state, no individual country is going to be a great power on its own. The power that we all have, the economic strength that we all have, comes from our interdependence. The big strength that the European Union has is that there are 500 million people in the European Union. It is the biggest consumer market in the world. It represents 25% of the GDP of the world. We've had problems in Europe, problems with our currency and problems with our financial system. I think we have to move beyond those problems now and concentrate on getting economic growth in Europe, building on the strengths that Europe has. And to build on those strengths, we have to, I think, understand that we are interdependent on each other. It's not a case of one state or a small number of large states. It's a case of all 27 member states working together.
OK, let's have another question here on iTalk.
My name is Anke. I'm from Germany, and I have the following question. Ireland is the first presidency of the next trio with Ireland, Lithuania and Greece. And I would like to know what you are going to do to make sure you have a strong cohesion and a good cooperation between those three countries in the difficult economic times.
Isn't the problem, Mr. Gilmore, that everything's just very short term? It's 6 months each country and then it changes.
Yes, as far as the rotating presidency is concerned, but of course there is also now the presidency of the European Council. That's a permanent institution, President Van Rompuy, and of course the President of the Commission, President Barroso, and the High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security. I think the new trio arrangement whereby the presidency works with the two succeeding presidencies, in Ireland's case that will mean we will be working with Lithuania and Greece, gives continuity to our work. There is a particular agenda that will have to be driven forward in the next 6 months, and Ireland is very conscious of that. We hope that it will be possible to get agreement on a European budget, the multi-annual financial framework. There is then a legislative programme that has to be followed on from that. We want to see the single market deepened, particularly in the area of the digital market. We want to see some trade agreements concluded, which have been outstanding for some time. So we're going to work on those issues and drive them forward, and then in cooperation with Lithuania and Greece, see them followed through in the succeeding 12 months.
OK, one final question for Eamon Gilmore in Dublin.
Hello, I'm Francois. I come from France, and I'd like to know what the Irish government is planning to do to protect its youth from the effects of the crisis, and especially to stop the flow of emigration. At the moment, you see young Irish leaving Ireland to look for work. So what are you going to do to stop this? Thank you.
250 people leaving a day, apparently, according to statistics I saw. Just very briefly, if you could, what can you do to prevent young people wanting to go out elsewhere to get work?
The biggest and most urgent issue that we face in Ireland and in Europe is the problem of unemployment, and particularly the problem of unemployment among young people. Throughout the European Union, about 20% of our young people cannot get jobs. We have to address that urgently. There are a number of initiatives that Ireland intends to take during the European Union presidency. Among them is bringing forward the idea of a youth guarantee. In other words, that young people will have access to employment, to work experience, or to education and training. The worst possible situation that young people can be left in is in a state of idleness, of one of unemployment without hope. So it's a combination of measures. First of all, growing the European economy so that the jobs will be created, deepening the single market and the digital market in particular, an area where I believe there's a lot of potential for employment for young people. Developing our education and training systems, advancing the idea of Erasmus for all, the whole idea of exchanges in education between European countries. But above all, making youth unemployment and addressing the jobs crisis the priority, not just for the Irish presidency, but the priority for all of Europe, so that we can give hope to young people that they will have a future, whether it is in Ireland or in other European Union countries.
Thank you very much indeed, Eamon Gilmore in Dublin. Thanks for your questions. You can see who our next guest will be on the Euronews website. Thanks, as ever, to the audiovisual service of the European Parliament for this wonderful virtual studio in the middle of very real and beautiful Brussels. See you next time.